Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us after lunch for this fantastic and interesting discussion, I hope. I'm Valerie Hopkins. I'm the Southeast Europe correspondent for the Financial Times, and I'm joined by the Macedonian president, Stevo Pendarovski, or shall I say the president of North Macedonia. When we met 5 years ago now...
I saw a few Greeks in the room, please.
When we met 5 years ago now, your country had not changed its name. We were in front of the government building as tents were camped out. There were paint bombs being deployed across the city, and a lot has happened since then. I mean, you went from being mentioned as a captured state to...
You have been the direct witness of revolution. That revolution has a name, colorful revolution, which goes in two parts in 2015 and 16. And I just tell some of my friends I haven't seen for a long time that in 2016, in the progress report of the European Commission, we have been described as the captured state. You can imagine that. And for only 2.5 years later, we have become the members of NATO and opened the door for the European Union. So such a quick recovery from one regime to a democratic rule, as I think never happened in the recent history on the continent, at least.
Quick, but still not without obstacles. I mean, this time last year, I think the whole region was reeling from this emphatic no that came from Paris. You finally unlocked the doors in March to
I have got an interesting meeting with President Macron immediately after that very, very negative decision by the European Union. At least it was perceived like that by many people in North Macedonia. That was in October last year, and we have been speaking about the demands by the French side to have the new methodology for entering the European Union or negotiating. And we have been, I can tell you, we have been a bit confused because there have been some voices coming from Brussels, from the very high political levels, speaking about the possible alternatives to the membership. And I asked directly President Macron, are you really preparing some alternative form of membership for the countries from the Western Balkans? He said no, would like that process to be more efficient, and at the end of that process, people to see really tangible results. Nothing more, nothing less, and that proven correct. We are waiting for starting the negotiations, and we do not have any fear of the new methodology. We think that is the best way to progress.
I was just going to ask you about that. So, okay, we can fast forward. In March, you finally got the green light, and then the COVID pandemic hit. 2 days ago now, I got a massive package in my email of the new methodology, accession framework, financial package. I'm wondering if you can respond a bit. What do you think? And you had a commissioner in Varhe yesterday.
I saw him there. He was in Skopje. He has really busy regional agenda. He was yesterday in Skopje and in Tirana, and today I think he's completing that regional journey with the rest of the regional capitals, 4 of them. The rest of them, the 6 all in all. That was a really hectic activity on his part. I think that this time the European Union, not only the Commissioner Varhelyi, but really delivered. And I can tell you that we have been really shocked to see the new so-called investment and economic package. And they have been speaking within that package about 9 billion euros. Most of them, if not all of them, grants. That never happened before. You know, European Union, to be honest with you, then I'm speaking on behalf of the ordinary people, not only in my country, but for all the Balkan people, then have a perception about the European Union as an entity, as an international organization, which is speaking on rule of law, rights of the citizens, that kind of stuff, only talk, and nothing concrete. Now they are coming forward with a very, very concrete package. And why this package is even more important during this period of the time? Because we are speaking about the world turmoil caused by the pandemic. And the European Union solidarity, which has been questioned many times in the past, has now proven to anybody that is real, that is existent, and is really delivering. You know, apart from that, I would like to call that a rescue package for the member states, for the current member states, with many billions and trillions of euros. Now they are taking care for the Western Balkan as well. That's a hugely encouraging sign for the people in the region, because from times to times, we have an impression that not only the bureaucrats, but the politicians in Brussels are simply trying to forget the Balkan course of developments. And everybody thinks, okay, they're on the right path. Maybe for 5, maybe for 15 years, they will become the institutionally part of the European Union. Many of them are already in NATO, so the business is finished in the Balkans. That's not true. That's not true. And now they're really showing to everybody living in the region that they really do care about the developments in that natural, not only geographically, I would say historically, civilizationally, and institutionally part of Europe.
That's fantastic. And do you have any plans yet how you're planning to spend some of this 9 billion euros? I mean, I know that's for the region. What are the priorities?
The internal ratio of these quotas or sums of money is still not decided. The day before yesterday, I saw for a short period of time our Prime Minister Zaev, and we have been calculating. Then I think that we are speaking about the 18 million people, all in all, living in 6 Western Balkan countries and dividing that 9 billion euros. And that's kind of a joke, of course, and then approximately 1 billion euros should be allocated to North Macedonia. No, I'm joking. All these sums of money are going to be allocated according to the projects we have submitted. All 6 Western Balkan countries have submitted before to the European Commission, so that's not an empty talk or just something in the air. Then it's very concrete, and we have very concrete projects. And very eager to start with all of them because the projects are speaking about better infrastructure in the region. They're speaking about a better ecology and better environment for the people. Speaking about renewable energy, replacing coal, for example, with renewable energy. And all of that is badly needed in the region, especially. That is the primary task. I'm speaking now about the Green Deal for the European Union, but certainly that's not less important for the people living in the Western Balkans.
And how about the timeline? I mean, the Germans have said that they really want to move things forward during their presidency, but a lot needs to happen, and there are so many challenges now within the EU, in the world. Do you think that there's going to be enough drive and push to open the first chapters by the end of the year?
No, it is not so easy in the Balkans. We have done a great deal of job in the meantime with the Prespa agreement, especially with our neighbors from Greece. But now we have some outstanding issues to resolve with our Bulgarian friends in Sofia, and I can tell you that we are ready to do that by the end of the German presidency, by the end of this year, and finally to start with the negotiations with the European Union. And I can tell you that the political activities have already been decided on our part. Then our Prime Minister will be, I think, in 2 or 3 weeks at the maximum in Sofia to speak with his Bulgarian friend and counterpart, Borisov. Tomorrow, our Foreign Minister will be in Sofia to meet our dear guest, my friend, Katja. And what is important part of that bilateral agreement on good neighbor relations signed in 2017 by the old and new prime ministers in Sofia and Skopje is the Commission of Historians who are dealing with some historical controversies. We have scheduled tentatively scheduled for 15th and 16th of this month. That's a new meeting of that commission because due to the COVID pandemic and due to our parliamentary elections, which has been twice postponed in the meantime, they have not been in action at all. So we are doing everything possible to realize all obligations we have signed in good faith from that agreement, and we have any doubt that our Bulgarian friends will do the same.
A historical commission for the future. Well, and if that doesn't happen, are you worried a little bit that there could be another swell of frustration with the EU? I mean, we've seen, after last October, there had to be new elections. Before that, the referendum on accepting a difficult identity change for many citizens of your country, and many people felt frustrated that there were more and more and more obligations
I would like to say that was the identity change for the citizens. We have changed the name of the country, but with the Prespa agreement, precisely, the all vital, basic identity markers, so to say, of the Macedonian nation has been preserved. And that was even ratified in the Greek parliament. So that was a huge step forward for all of us. Because, we have been discussing for almost a quarter of a century with our Greek friends and have never been ready to sign an agreement. But regardless of the award at the end of the day, NATO, European Union, if we have not seen before that a clear guarantees in place that we are not going to change our identity as a people, so that is out of question in the 21st century. So that agreement was good, looking to the future, but preserving what is basic for both sides. So, to go back to your question, you're right with the frustration. Not only because of that, the waiting on prolonged start of negotiations for us and for the Republic of Albania, do not forget that we have been treated as a kind of a package last year. If something like that happen again, I can tell you that's going to be very frustrating for the people in the country, for the political elite in the country, because we cannot persuade the people that they should wait for decades and decades to finally start, not enter the European Union, but start with the negotiations. And everybody knows that it's a lengthy and very, very difficult process. But it's going to be very bad omen, so to say, for the European Union, for their attractiveness for the prospective candidates.
Is this something you spoke about being treated as a package, and you see that increasingly there is an initiative in the region to try to work together, also one that is heavily supported by Brussels. How do you see the push, especially strong in the last 9 months, for whatever you want to call it, a mini Schengen, a regional economic area, an initiative focused on the 4 freedoms? Do you think that that will help Macedonia, or does it really, in the short term at least, really just make the Serbian economy stronger and help Serbia? You hear these criticism quite a lot.
No, then it's very interesting. Though. If that was the case, then apart from my country, because Prime Minister Zaev was one of the founders, so to say, of that initiative, immediately with Serbian and Albanian Prime Minister, Serbian President, Albanian Prime Minister, then Albanians from the Republic of Albania will certainly not join that initiative if the end result of that process would be strengthening the Serbian economy. You know why. Everybody knows why. So it's a very interesting hybrid of the people from different ethnicities, not only from different countries, with different political outlook. Look, I will say that agree that something like that should start. What is important about that initiative? That is, as far as I can remember, and I have enough of years to remember along, that was the first autonomous regional initiative then stemming from the region, not being just said by somebody in Brussels, and we, along that copy-paste procedure, think, okay, why not? This was for the first time originated from the region. And I can tell you that in the meantime, few other countries are either joining us or discussing about joining us. And that's okay. In essence, the core of the mini Schengen initiative is, as you said, 4 freedoms of the European Union. So why not to have, maybe the term is not quite good or correct to speak about Schengen, because we have one, Schengen. But the initiative as such is more than welcome, and should be more than welcome by everybody in the region. What I would like to see, and I was one of the first, if not the first one, from the politicians in the region, which has publicly said some doubts, some reservations about the initiative, not because the initiative is not good or the idea is not good, but I would like to see Maxi Schengen. All 6 Western Balkan countries to be in that initiative. We do not need new division line in the region who has been already divided numerous times in the past, and at present, of course.
And do you see this as the symbolic power which it really has, or do you also see a real opportunity for economic growth? I mean, when you see most of the countries in the region, you know, between 60 and 70% of their trade is with the EU specifically, right? So how do you see that there's really so much room to grow the economy, the trade in between the countries?
It is. You know, well before Schengen, mini Schengen initiative, well before we have even applied for the membership. We, for example, we are the formally speaking candidates for the EU membership since December 2005. Then waiting for 16 years to start negotiations. So well before that, we have the EU as our biggest trading partner. And I think that the same goes for the rest of the former Yugoslavia plus Albania. So we are in the same geographical area. We are in a close geographical proximity. We have, especially with the countries around us, with many ties from the previous times when that former states have existed, and why not to use that for the benefit of all of our citizens? So I cannot see how we can be the biggest trading partner ever. Let's say that if we wish something like that with I don't know, with Philippines or with South Korea or any other country which is far away, Australia. So it's quite natural to cooperate with your closest neighbors, and all Europeans are our neighbors, and in essence we are the same family.
The last time we saw one another was in March. It was my last pre-COVID conference in Skopje. And you gave a very impassioned keynote speech that evening about what looked at that time very possible and was still being discussed, the idea of a territory exchange of Kosovo between Kosovo and Serbia, or a partition, whatever we want to call it. And you spoke about the disastrous consequences this could have for your country. Now, one pandemic and one Oval Office meeting later, things look a lot different. I'm wondering how you see, and maybe this will help in our next panel a bit, you can advise me a bit, how do you see Washington reasserting itself in Balkan peacemaking, and how do you see now the state of play in the region compared to at the beginning of this year?
In essence, you have quite different questions in that. I wouldn't like to explain or to speak at length about that ideas circulating around that formal negotiation process between Belgrade and Pristina. I have repeated my stance, and it's widely known, several times before and after that meeting you have mentioned, and Serbian president immediately got mad on me, saying that that's not my job. Of course, what we are asking for from the international mediators, or everybody with a good intentions towards the region from the international community. The decision, when the time will come for that, on the Kosovo international status, or the agreement between Belgrade and Pristina, could be whatever they want. And they are both involving parts of that debate. If they agree on something, that's going to be, period. That's going to be the final. But we wouldn't like to see everybody speaking for everybody in the region around these two countries, because we have recognized both of them. We have embassies in Belgrade and Pristina, and vice versa, they have embassies in Skopje. We wouldn't like to see the decision or the solution at the end of that process, which will destabilize the region additionally. So at least if they decide to swap the territories, it's up to them. But I will urge all the international interlocutors and international friends to have at least one provision plus in that agreement, saying that that's going to be eventually the sui generis decision only for that problem. And it should not be kind of opening Pandora box and kind of to see that kind of a domino effect in the region. Because, you know, I'm the president of North Macedonia. What is my first job? To protect the national interest of the country. The very first interest of my country is to stay within the same borders. So of course, and I should take care about that by the end of, until the end of my term. So I am asking everybody being involved, and I think that people being involved in the discussion, not only Ambassador Lajcak, but Alexander Vucic and the Kosovo delegation, they are fully aware about that. They are fully aware about that, and I do not expect huge surprises at the end of the process. But what I would like to see, as a person who is living in that region, the decision to come as soon as possible is going to be beneficial for everybody, in the first place for Belgrade and for Pristina.
Thank you very much, President Pendarovski. You've given us a very fruitful basis for the continuing discussion, which will start immediately. I would like to ask everyone to stay here, especially if you're interested in the region and in the wider, actually, neighborhood. Please remain. We will just do some...
I will stay in the first row.
Yes.
I'm not going to escape.
Please feel free to ask a question, and thank you again.
Yeah.